Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today I'm going to show you the 3-chord trick. Lots and lots of songs, whether in old time, in bluegrass, in country, in rock or in blues, are based on the 1 chord, the 4 chord and the 5 chord. And as a fiddle player doing accompaniment, you will find yourself playing 2-note chord shapes. So for example, for an E you might do, for an A you might do, for a B you might do. You will probably have a whole selection of different 2-finger fiddle shapes for each chord. And what this 3-chord trick that I'm going to show you does is to give you very neat adjacent finger patterns for any key, for any 1, 4, 5 song. And the equivalent on the piano is if you're playing a chord with 2 fingers, those two, those two, those two, da, 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 that is really convenient. And if those 3 shapes, da, 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 cover 1, 4 and 5, then it's a wonderful thing. And this little trick of mine is indeed a wonderful thing. So I'm going to explain it with examples in lots of keys and in lots of genres and with lots of different songs. And I think you'll see it is a very useful thing to know. So what we want to avoid with our 2-note chord shapes is fingers which are scattered all over the place. So we don't want to be going... We don't want to be doing that kind of stuff. What we want is fingers that are right next to one another, that are totally predictable from the start. So what we use to do this is you have to learn first of all another related thing, which is the scale of sixths, and I have another video explaining that. But basically for the key of A, let's say, it's a scale where the melody note, the scale is on the top, and below it is an inverted third or a sixth below. And it's a very easy and predictable way of harmonizing any melody in a major key. So that in itself is a really useful thing to learn. Key of C, you might start. Do something like that, and notice that you don't really have to start one of these scales on the root note, because everywhere you're playing 2 notes, it all makes sense no matter really where you start. But for the 3-chord trick, you have to start in one particular place, and the place you start is a third above the root. So if you're playing in the key of A, the note you want to start on is the C sharp. That's A, that's the third, and it's C sharp. I'll come to the reason why to that in a minute. So there's your C sharp. The note that harmonizes with it on the string below in the scale of sixths is an E. So that is your starting point for doing the 3-chord trick in the key of A. Now by walking up the scale, you go to the D chord next. That's the D chord. One more step up, and you've got an E chord, and then you come down again and you've got the A chord. So the 4 is always 1 step above the 1. The 5 can be either 1 step up further, or it can be 1 step below the 1. So instead of going like that, you could go, you have the choice. Both of them make an E chord, a 5 chord. The lower one is often slightly better in that the notes of it include a D natural, which is the flattened 7th, which makes that a dominant chord. And if you don't know jazz theory, that'll make no sense whatsoever, but don't worry, just take my word for it. Now, having discovered this, I thought it's a good idea if I check the whole scale and work out if there's anywhere else within the scale where you get the 3 adjacent chords next to one another. And if you look at this little illustration here, of the scale of A major, you will see I've written out the chord that is formed by each of these pairs and the notes of each chord that you are fingering. And you'll see that there's the only place in the scale where this works as adjacent E, A and D is this place in the middle. Those four notes where you've got the first and the last are both an E chord. So I hope I haven't lost you already. I'm now going to show you an example with Route 66, which is a blues number with a slightly more complex chord sequence, because we're going straight from the A to the D and back to the A, which just gives us a bit more movement. So because we're in A, we're starting off with a C sharp. Our three chords are or, like that. So let's play through with the backing using those chord pairs. So that works really neatly. You're not doing any more work than you need to. It's very kind of ergonomic in that your fingers are doing the minimum amount of work. Let's say we were in the key of F, still with a Route 66. So there's an F, a third above it is the A, and the note below it that harmonizes is the C. So that's our starting point. One step up gives us B flat chord. And then for the C7 chord, either go down a step or up a step. So playing through this with the chords. So the same finger pattern that we used to start with, that's going to work in the key of E and the key of D. The one we've just used, this pattern, that will work in F as we've just done. It'll work in B flat and it'll work in E flat. So the different fingerings are going to work in different keys, but the basic principles are the same with all of them. Let's look at La Bamba and the key of C. So C is our first note, but the third above it is E. The note that harmonizes is G. So we can go, or we can go, or using the lower option for the 5 chord, we can go like that. Let's try those with the backing. Second one. Third one. Like the first one. Take a look at Feeling Groovy by Simon and Garfunkel in the key of F. Now they don't start on the 1 chord, they start on the B flat. So first note F, so the third above is the A note and the note below it is the C note, but we're starting the next one up, so we're starting there. And if we want, we can end, because remember the 5 chord can be up 1 step or down 1 step. Okay, so the same fingerings for this will also work in the keys of F and E flat. Now, if we use that same fingering, but we go up a half step, then we get, we're still in the first position, we get the keys of E and B and F sharp. So instead of, we now got that. So looking at Rolling My Sweet Baby's Arms in the key of B. There's your B, there's your third, there's your harmonizing note. Here we're going straight from the 1 to the 5. So we're going from, and here's the 4. So it's going to sound like this. And don't forget that when we're doing this, what you actually do with those pairs of notes, you're not at all stuck to doing long notes. You can do, or you can do shuffles, or all sorts of stuff you can do with those pairs of notes. So I'm not in any way tying you down to a particular length of note. Sometimes third position is the best option, depending on how hard it is to stay in first position. If you look at the Keel Row, for example, in the key of G, if you want to go for a high option, you might do, let's just start, there's your G, there's your third. Now the next one up is going to be a jump from there to there. So you might be better off starting in third position, and then either the upper one, or you might do, if you want to do the jump. So let's just hear that with the backing. Let's try lower. So you often have quite a lot of choices as to whether you do the lower or upper octave, and whether you do first or third position, and whether you, for your 5 chord, go up or down. Let's finish off with a really tricky one, which is F sharp major. So F sharp, there's your note. The third above is A sharp, but we're going to use the fiddle capo method, and we're not going to even think about what the notes are. So that's your starting note, and the harmonizing note is below it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it to Twist and Shout by the Beatles. So you can see that this simple 3-chord trick has many applications. It may be that only a part of the song is 1, 4 and 5, and then you'll have to modify it a bit, but there's lots of songs where this is all you've got, like for example in Twist and Shout or Feeling Groovy. It's just those same chords over and over again, and this is a very easy approach to get into it. If you would like a copy of the sheet music with all of these different examples, then do subscribe to the channel and send me an email. And if you join me on Patreon, then you can get all of my PDFs in one go, plus lots of other goodies, including the backing tracks for all of these. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.